There's two extremes. There's what some people think you're talking about when you talk about becoming a biblical man,
right.
That we're going to rip our shirts off and yell, and paint our faces and all of that. But then, the opposite's not good either, where we relinquish our role as men. So the devil doesn't want strong men and strong families. And we men have, as a culture, have messed that up, sometimes, and painted that picture of, I'm the leader, really more about having the responsibility, for the home. Doesn't mean that our wife isn't, perfectly equal with us.
Absolutely.
And won't work together. The home would fall apart without either one of us.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you got two people riding a motorcycle, somebody's got to sit up front.
If it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All righty. Well, welcome to the Mike Charleston Show. And as you can see, I am by myself today. Kind of. So Sarah and Chuck will be joining us later. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see our guest that's going to be coming on. And Ronny Cooksey is someone that I met through Bible Bee, and he's a pastor of a local church. And so we're going to be interviewing him because his church is putting on a men's conference, I guess. But why don't you go ahead, Joshua, and bring Ronny in. Okay, he's on there. Okay. Hey, Ronny, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me.
Absolutely. This is our pleasure. So Ronny has been pastoring over there at a church locally here, about an hour and a half from our house, but in the Covington area, and you're putting on a men's conference. So explain a little bit why this came about and what you're hoping to get out of this.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, I've for a long time had a heart for men. And, for the whole church, but certainly as a man, as a pastor, wanting to pour into and encourage men. So a year and a half ago, we did this same conference for the first time. We call it the Everyman Conference, and it comes from Colossians 1:28. And so we did it a year and a half ago. The first time we did it, I've been here a little over 2 years, coming up on 2.5. So we did it, and I taught 4 sessions covering 4 different parts of manhood. This time we're doing it again, bringing in, breakout speakers, keynote speakers to make it, have new content. But we just want to encourage men to help them along the way, give them tools to follow the Lord as men, as leaders in their homes, leaders in the church. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the big things on our show that we do is talk about family and the church. Yeah. So this is kind of together. I mean, we know that the family is under attack like never before. And men and women, we just don't even know our roles, our jobs. We don't even know what a man and woman is these days, it seems like. And so what are some things that men have to deal with today that they really didn't have to deal with 50 or 60 years ago?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, obviously the issues, the principles, have been there all along, but it's the setting that we find ourselves.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And there's so many. There are cultural issues, as you mentioned. Is it okay to be a man? Today, is that a bad thing or a good thing? And of course, we know that God made us male and female, so it's good. And then there's the whole deal trying to navigate how to live, in a way that's pleasing to the Lord when the cultural influences around us are so ungodly, unbiblical. That's coming. Those things are coming at us all day long, and then you mentioned family. We're busy, and everybody's just trying to scrape by, and so there's just a lot of things that make it hard to live the Christian life in general, man or woman. But certainly, as we look at men, things are very different.
Well, yeah, and in fact, when you talk about men becoming men, the idea of toxic masculinity comes in the picture. With the big old muscles, and I'm going to rule my house. And then people kind of push that away, but then you have this weak man that doesn't do anything. And so there's this balance that men just really don't know how to become a man today. And so we think of men based on what we see on TV or watch movies, but that's not reality, is it?
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head with the word balance there, because there's two extremes. There's what some people think you're talking about when you talk about becoming a biblical man. Right. That's we're going to rip our shirts off and yell, and paint our faces and all of that. And but then the opposite's not good either, where we relinquish our role as men. So, in part of that, over the years, certainly of course the devil doesn't want strong men and strong families. And we men have, as a culture, have messed that up, sometimes, and painted that picture of, I'm the leader, everybody follow me.
That's right.
So trying to find out, what does it look like to be a Bible, a Jesus kind of leader that's, strong, but strong to actually care and nurture and protect women and children and, and all those things, and how that is true strength.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. One of the if you look at me, and most people, look at me on YouTube, I'm not a very buff looking guy. I'm not very strong. And I know that's coming as a shock, but there can be strength in many other areas. There can be strength in spirit. And that's where a lot of guys get confused on, they feel like, we just have to be tough and hold our emotions in and things like that. But, to stand against evil and to live with conviction is really a hard thing to do sometimes.
That really is. And, I know this, there's a cultural move right now to recreate manhood, and a lot of it is, off base. There are a lot of secular, influencers online who they get maybe 60% of it, right? That yes, it's okay to be a man, but it's a macho bravado, just taking swings at everybody. Yes. And it's not really strength under control, like the Bible would teach us.
Yeah. So what are some practical things that those guys that are struggling with that they can do at home where they're not, on one side or the other? So I know your conference is going to cover a lot of different topics and all that, but just like maybe one thing that they can maybe start to do today where they feel like, man, I don't want to be the overbearing husband, that I see out there, the toxic masculinity, but I feel like I need to be doing something.
Yeah, that's great, and that's that's my heart, because men get overwhelmed and think I can't do it. There's too much. I'm so far in the hole. My wife is spiritual and I'm not, and in many cases like that. And so for to become a servant leader, first just by example, that you just starting with your walk with the Lord, letting your wife, your kids see you read the Bible, and. Let them see that you're trying to serve the Lord. If God's telling them that you're the servant leader in the home, they need to see that the servant leader is trying to follow after the Lord. And just start with small stuff. Before I forget here, I had a guy recently. He really wanted to do some stuff. He was so shy spiritually that he said, I'm too shy to even pray at a meal.
Right.
And so the thought hit me, and I'd never done this before. And I wrote out for him, hey, just your family will not care that you're reading this. Here's just a 3-sentence prayer you can read at mealtime, and your family will actually be thrilled that you're doing it. You don't have to be, embarrassed. And I know that he's eventually going to, throw that prayer aside, and it'll become natural for him.
Well, speaking of which, you were talking about, we don't feel like the spiritual ones, the women are a little bit more spiritual and, because they're a little bit more feely and things like that. Doesn't mean we're not spiritual. But let me ask you a question. Do you think men struggle with being spiritually equipped?
Well, it's a hard question to answer. It seems like that, and you got at one part of the answer. It seems like that sometimes ladies are more apt and willing to do spiritual things than men. But it doesn't mean a man's not spiritual if he doesn't emote some sort of outward thing. So I think there is sometimes a struggle for some men to want to do spiritual things, but we got to free them from thinking they have to be like their wife. Spirituality.
Well, God made us differently, right? For a reason.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to be them. We need to be how God made us. And if we're maybe not as emotional, then so be it. Even though I think that sometimes it's a good thing, we can tap into what God is doing in our lives. But being spiritually equipped, obviously an event like that you're putting on is where men can focus their attention on this to where maybe they feel ill-equipped. I feel like a lot of people in the church in general, they feel ill-equipped to go witnessing. They feel ill-equipped to, and that's kind of the job of the church. We got to help them, and that's kind of what you're doing here is like, hey guys, we want to equip you with that. So guys feeling that they may not be equipped, is there some things, I know you don't want to give away your whole thing here, but is there some ways that can change that? Is there just a mentality in their mind, or is it just as simple as, hey, just pick up your Bible and start reading, man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it has to be super complicated, and I think that, again, that's where we can start to get overwhelmed. But certainly, men need to be connected to other men, in the church setting and smaller, Bible study setting, home settings, whatever it might be. But yeah, just making a plan for how to read your Bible, making a plan for how I'm going to make sure I pray every day, and if I'm skipping it, I'm going to say I can't eat until I pray, or just sure. Again, not to get to heaven, but just because it's just ones we want to do, and then I encourage men to then start finding a way to do that with your family, and again try to make it really simple, because if we think I'm not a great teacher, and so I can't do this hour-long family devotion, right. Just hey, family, we're going to read, one of us or all of us are going to read some Bible. We're going to maybe talk, maybe not. And then one of us or all of us are going to pray, and just try to make that simple. And then guys eventually realize, oh, you know what? This isn't that complicated. I can
exactly
do that. So we want to give those tools, and we want to send guys home. Yeah. Not with a list of 30 things to go
right.
and do. But because that's where you get overwhelmed. I find that usually, in a setting, God's going to give you a couple things that are kind of your things to go home and work on.
No, that's good. That's really good, because you've been to some conferences and it's like 30 things, and you're like, it's too much. I can't do any of it. But if you go home, it's like, okay, maybe 5 things here. Let me work on a couple of them and nail those things. But I wanted to go back. You were mentioning you can't really speak on what the other speakers are going to speak on. I mean, you can have an opinion on the topic, but you are. I noticed you're going to be talking about. How did you phrase it? It's an interesting way of your phrasing it. Your title there, I forget what it was.
Breakout on the man at home, but then doing a keynote on noble men and their plans.
Plans, yes. And you were talking about planning, basically. And I was intrigued by that, because I think a lot of us, like you were saying in that example, where you have the guy who's like, well, I'm not a very good teacher. I don't know how to pray all that well. Well, I think a lot of men are in that boat, and they look at someone like me or maybe like you, and they're like, well, you talk a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so it does come naturally to me. But for most people, it doesn't. And they get overwhelmed, and they feel like they have to do an hour-long devotion. They feel like they have to come up with this great sermon or something. But they don't. They really don't. But like you were presenting here is like, have a plan and follow through with your plan. And it doesn't have to be a grand plan, right?
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. In fact, giving away some of my talk that day, it's from Isaiah 32, and noble men make noble plans, and by those plans they stand. And just looking at the need for noble men. And interesting, the word there really means liberal, which is a funny word today, but it's like liberal towards God and the world around. And so how much we need men, godly men, and that it's good and okay to be a godly man. But then I'm going to send guys home in that session with basically 3 things. So before I go to bed tonight, I want to do this. And it may be just something small, somebody they need to call, put their Bible out for tomorrow, whatever it might be.
Just very practical things.
Yeah, and then just 2 more steps, a little, I can't remember the exact, timing, but say this next week, I want to do this, and this next month. And just trying to break that down so guys can take one step at a time. I have one of my favorite friends from a former church that I used to pastor. He was like that, just like he wanted to lead his family, he wanted to do spiritual things, didn't know where to start. And so I think it's called Our Daily Bread. It was just one of those devotional guides. And so he started every day. His devotions where he would just read that page out loud to his family, and and they were done. Well, he got more comfortable with it, so they started discussing the scripture, and then he went on to lead several ministries in the church. He and his boys, took over a nursing home ministry for us, where he was the main teacher, and it just all started really simply, like that, which is the biblical pattern, that it really. Ideally, if you have a family, starts in the home, and that experience helps you to then be able to minister in the church.
Well, absolutely. And the Bible teaches that every man, if they're a father, they're a husband and a father, they're responsible to teach their children. In Deuteronomy 6, they teach these things to their kids. And you might say, well, I'm not very good at it. Well, that's fine. No one starts out very good. And you just try and you learn from other people. You go to conferences like the one you're putting on, and you learn, and you just take one step at a time. You don't start out as Billy Graham, you just got to get started.
And then now I'm in a place where I learn from my kids too, in those discussions. And it's good for people to know, I'm a pastor. I've got degrees, like you, from Bible institutions and colleges and seminaries. And there are times that, my kids have a question. I don't know the answer.
Sure.
And we have to say, well, let's look it up, or you look it up and tell me what you found, tomorrow. So it's okay. It's kind of better to not have all the answers, and sometimes, because then it doesn't mean, it doesn't put off, well, I don't know all the answers, so I can't do what he's doing.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up here soon. I know this is going a little quicker than I had thought, but I'm not very good at interviewing. It's kind of funny because I am a talker, but I don't interview a lot of people. I do a lot of conversation, back and forth. But I really do love this subject because, well, being a man, it is, close to home to where I look around and men are just kind of failing. And the one thing, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I feel like it's just the lack of being equipped. I think a lot of guys, especially in the church, they feel like they want to be a part. They want to do something, but there's fear. And guys, they're not going to admit to being afraid, so they won't do anything. They just sit on the sideline and just kind of wait for someone else to do it, and then maybe join and help. But I really feel like it's things like this that help push us along. Hey, we get together with other people. We're all in the same boat, right? And they're like, okay. And then we work on this together. And because it is vital, the man's place in the home is extremely under attack. But it's important. God made us different than our wives, and for good reasons. And our position is to be a leader in the home. And when we don't do it, the family suffers.
And yeah, you're exactly right. And we kind of going back to the very beginning, the whole societal feeling right now that is bad. And even as we talk today, the man is the leader. Well, we're completely equal and on a team with our wives, but somebody has to have. And you mentioned it earlier. It's really more about having the responsibility. Mm-hmm. For the home. Doesn't mean that our wife isn't, perfectly equal with us.
Absolutely.
And don't work together. The home would fall apart without either one of us,
right.
And, but at the end of the day, if you got two people riding a motorcycle, somebody's got to sit up front. They're
That's
not
right.
any better. They just got to take the responsibility for where that thing's going. Yeah.
That's a good example. I like that example, because if you have two people, you're going to crash. Yeah. You're just going to crash. But, okay, so why don't you, speak to the guy who feels like he isn't a good leader in the home, and he's, he's like, I don't need to go to these events, whether it's your event or some other, locally, wherever they're listening, these men's events, these Bible studies for men or things like that. They're just like, I don't really need it, but they want to be a good leader in their home. Speak to that guy that, thinks he's super tough and just can do it on his own.
Yeah. Well, on the one hand, no, you don't have to come, to an event like this to do it. However, we get continuing education and training in every area of our life.
Absolutely.
And so this one's so important, this area. So whether it's the Everyman Conference or something else, or something that's a part of a local church, to be with other men. Proverbs says iron sharpens iron, and we need to sharpen each other, and we need to find out that we're all, like you said, in the same boat. We're all alike. Yep. And we church needs to be, and whether it's a men's conference or Sunday morning or whatever it is, church needs to be a place where people can feel like they can be real, because we clean up and we think everybody else is perfect, and we're not. And the reality is that we're all just, in process of following the Lord imperfectly. And so that guy, he, if he can do it without others helping him, great.
Well, I think that's Satan's goal, is to isolate people and make them feel like they're all by themselves. But, doing events like this or getting together with believers on a Sunday or other times, you're not alone, and it's encouraging, when you're around other godly men and other godly believers. In fact, specifically, we're talking about men. Obviously, other women can encourage us too, but we were just talking specifically about a man's conference. And I see that you have like a car show.
Oh yeah.
Is that like an antique car show you're gonna have there?
Yeah, it's classic cars.
Yes.
And yeah. So, I mean, some are, more, there's like a 1947 Jeep, and then, some newer cars that are just, fancy cars and stuff in between. But yeah, just doing some good, man fun. We're going to give some things away. We're going to give away a shotgun, and some gift cards and things like that. And eat a bunch of good, gumbo and jambalaya and all that.
Oh, yeah. You just said a bunch of things that people don't understand unless they're around from here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the local, man food.
That's right. Yes, it's good. Good food. Trust me. Well, if you are in and around the area here in Louisiana, it's in Covington, Louisiana. We're going to play. What's that?
In Mandeville.
Mandeville. That's you're right. Technically, it is Mandeville.
But it's in Mandeville. Yeah,
that's right. So. Mandeville. And don't want to get the Covington people mad. But no, it's in Mandeville, Louisiana, which is on the North Shore of New Orleans area. If you're in the area, you know where it is. But we're going to play a video after this interview of the conference. But if you want to share a little bit about where it is, the times, the dates, and all that right now, you go ahead.
Sure. So it's a week from this coming Saturday. So February the 22nd, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to start with breakfast. And it's at First Baptist Church of Mandeville. You can go to fbcmandeville.org/events and find it there. Or I think you can just Google Everyman as one word, Everyman Conference, and it will come up, because that's not how you spell it. So we first, yeah. So. But yeah, you can still register now. You can register at the door. We'd like to know you're coming, so we have enough food and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's going to be a great day. We're going to sing. It's always fun to have a room full of men singing, and so it's going to be a good time, and just eating good food and being encouraged.
I don't know about you, but it feels like a room full of men singing. It's when there's women around, they don't sing as loudly, but when it's just men, they sing a little louder. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I'm not a loud singer. I kind of keep it quiet because I'm embarrassed. But anyway, but being around other guys, I'm like, hey, we all can't sing, so whatever.
There you go. That works.
So that's Ronny Cooksey. He's the pastor of First Baptist in Mandeville, and you can get more information. We'll put it up here on the screen. We'll play the video, and if you're in the area, if you're not in the area, you want to just travel down and come see us. I'm trying to see if I can get out there that weekend. We'll see what my schedule looks like, but I'd like to check it out and see what's going on. And but yeah, if you want to come visit Ronny, for sure, he's going to be there. I don't know, how many guys are you expecting?
Our pre-registration numbers just went over 100. We always have some at the door. So, I'm hoping for somewhere close to 150 men.
Okay. Well, that's good. So it's going to be, it's not overwhelming. It's not like 1,000. Yeah. I knew it wasn't going to be 1,000, but it's not like this big old overwhelming conference. So go check it out. Go visit his website. And Ronny, we really do appreciate you joining us. And we look forward to what God's going to do with the men that show up, man.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Sometimes the water is as smooth as glass. Sometimes the storms and the wind come in and the swells rise and everything gets choppy. Life is like that sometimes. And there's an exhilarating journey that you're on that we call manhood. And God has put in your heart a desire to be a strong believer and husband and father. And we want to give you the tools to help you succeed in that journey. You're important to us here at First Baptist Church of Mandeville. And I want to invite you to spend the day with us at the 2025 Everyman Conference on February the 22nd from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we're going to give you a hearty breakfast, feed you 2 different kinds of gumbo for lunch. You'll go home with a t-shirt. And then we've got Greg Wilton, the New Orleans Saints chaplain, coming to speak, Waylon Bailey, the pastor at First Baptist Covington, and a host of engaging breakout speakers. You're going to spend the day in a room full of men who are just like you. And we're going to send you home encouraged, challenged, and with the tools necessary to let God complete the man task in you. Stop what you're doing right now and register for the Everyman Conference on February the 22nd. You can go to fbcmandeville.org/events or Google Everyman, that's all one word, Everyman Conference, and go to the registration page. I will see you on February the 22nd.
Marriage.
All right. Well, I hope your marriage is as upbeat as that song introducing us.
That'd be great.
Yes. So our journey here the last couple of weeks is, reading together. So on purpose, making a plan. We always talk, but making a time to talk about these books. Well, we finished one book. We finished that one that we were talking about last week.
Marriage Matters.
And we said, it's very basic. It was very good, and it has scriptures. It's a very good basic book. Sarah wasn't as impressed, Well, once we got to this book,
fine.
I'm a little bit more impressed with the first one, because this book...
Well, okay, this book is called The 4 Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages by Marcus Warner and Chris Coursey. And it says how 15 minutes a day will help you stay in love. Brain science hacks that boost your emotional, spiritual, and physical connection. And doesn't that sound good?
It sounds great.
That sounds good. 15 minutes a day to a better marriage. And of course, who doesn't want a joy-filled marriage? That sounds great.
Do you want me to be honest?
I don't know. I'm a little afraid of that, but okay, I guess.
No, man. You guys can, I know more negativity spurs people to go read more books and stuff let me go check out this book then.
Yeah.
It's a terrible book.
Terrible, I think, is a bit extreme.
I think it's kind of cheesy. Let me just put it that way. A lot of these things, sure, I could see how a lot of these techniques and things could work. One of the things is we sit together and cuddle for 5 minutes and just tell each other why we like each other. Well, of course.
Which, to be fair, you shouldn't have even read that part yet, because that's one of the exercises that's later on. So you're cheating and not knowing the stuff that goes into that. So you
but
gotta
I'm getting there, and I'm like, none of this stuff. There's just a lot of terminology. It seems like a lot of psychobabble.
There does seem to be a bit of psychobabble, and that's kind of not my thing.
But the message being, joy in your marriage. Now, here's my biggest criticism, okay? Because the other stuff, I'm just, whatever. But the biggest criticism I have for this, I'm thinking about people that recently have been divorced or are really struggling.
Okay.
If I hand them this book, or tell them to go to their conference, and I know I don't think they're going to laugh at this, because they're like, well, you want me to hold hands and stare into their eyes and tell them why I fell in love with them? I can't stand the guy right now. I can't stand the woman right now. I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing this. They're not even coming to the table. So this book seems like it's really for people that just kind of have grown apart or something like that. And they didn't mean to, and they kind of need to reconnect on some level. And so if you need some help with that, man, they give you a step-by-step guide. And when I mean step-by-step, some of it is hilarious, but it's good. It's fine. I can rub your hand vigorously and then not vigorously. And then I can tell you all the good things I like about you and, all these things. It just seems weird.
Weird?
It's not up my alley.
Okay.
But I'm listening.
But the guy does, or the guys, it's 2 guys that wrote it.
I guess it's 2 guys.
They do acronyms, so they have make a plan. So plan is play together, listen for emotion, appreciate daily, nurture rhythm.
Right.
And the thing is and then they'll have other acronyms, and I'm like, wait a minute. I know there's another one and
too many
with
acronyms.
A, and
right.
it also has appreciate something, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. But I forget what the acronyms are for, so that's kind of, tends to be a little bit of a problem.
You put these things in place. It's kind of like the love languages, in a sense, where if you don't know this stuff, it's going to help in some ways. Like if you want to better your marriage or relationships in general, like telling someone something nice about them, if you don't know that's going to help them or make them feel better.
Okay. But
I'm just saying but they give you practical things to do.
I get that part,
but if you don't know that saying nice things or doing nice things for people is going to make their joy level go up, then you're an idiot. You're like, of course, this is going to make you happy and all that. But it gives you things that you can be purposeful about.
That's true. Well, they do talk about
the
difference between a joy bond and a fear bond, because people bond different ways. And so you could have a couple that stays together, but it's not bonded through joy, it's bonded through fear, and that wouldn't be a good thing. But they did also say, which I thought this part was good, when they say shrink your joy gap.
Shrink your joy gap. Explain the joy gap.
So the joy gap. Is good. This is good. The joy gap is that we have a moment of joy together, and then there's a gap. And then sometime later, whether it's moments or days or weeks or months, we have another time of joy and, that was fun. We really enjoy being together. Well, so the gap in between is the joy gap. And so if you want to have a good marriage, that gap needs to be
shorter and shorter. Right.
So we want to shrink that joy gap. And I thought, well, that's good. Obviously, the goal is to find things that we can do together, whether their hobbies or whatever. We have to find things we enjoy together. Otherwise, why are we going to want to be together?
Yeah, so that does make things problematic. But I mean, it doesn't mean you have to do everything together.
No.
But it does help. And we have a friend that they were working together and maybe it wasn't going so well. So sorry, Larry. But they were doing a project.
Larry?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And just remodeling. But you don't always have to do everything together.
Some things you don't want to do together. It's like, you know what? Well, just give me my space. Let me do this. This is probably my thing right here. And
if it's not giving you joy, maybe take a step back and be like, okay, let's change this up to where we both can enjoy this.
Which is a good point, because I do think that some people feel like to have a good marriage, we do need to do everything together. And I'm like, you know what? Like when my parents lived here before they lived on our property, and I felt like I should go and visit them. And instead of me saying, you know what, it'd be so fun if we went together, which of course I would have thought could have been fun. But anyway.
Me? Like,
yeah, you and me, But anyway, the kids were little, so you would stay with the kids. And it's like, I realized.
I sacrificed for the family.
Oh, thank you. But it's like, okay, well, here's something that I think I should do, but it is my parents. And so it's like, how about I just do that?
Not that I wouldn't have enjoyed it, but.
Right. So I do think, obviously it's good to enjoy things together, but it's also, you have to realize some things, maybe it is better that I let you go do that or I go do whatever. So anyway.
Shrink that joy gap. That's why we're intentional about our date night. Or date once a week at least, if I can get another one in, it's great. But, making sure you do like a 20 minutes a night, the book. And
to be fair, we haven't gotten through the book yet.
I haven't gotten through it.
And we haven't gotten to the exercise
So
part.
next week.
So we'll see.
It'll have a better report, and you can see my exercises have worked out.
You might like it better when we get to the exercises. Just saying.
I doubt it, because I read your exercises.
You didn't read them all. But anyway, all right. To be continued,
To be continued, but if you want to check it out, and you know what, the project that we're going on here, right, is get all these books. We can learn something from all these books.
Absolutely.
We can learn something, and maybe this one isn't up my alley, but I'm trying. I'm trying hard.
Well, that's good. That's what you're supposed to do.
All right.
Music with Sarah.
What song do you like?
All right, with the magic of editing and everything, Sarah is joining us.
Here I am.
Yes, she's here. So she didn't want to join us for the man conversation.
It's not that I didn't want to join you, but I thought if you're talking all this man stuff, then maybe
it would have been interesting to have been like from your perspective. But I can answer your questions.
You can answer my question.
Okay.
I figure you like to talk a lot. Ronnie, I'm sure likes to talk a lot, so you don't really need me.
Oh, well,
anyway, but here I am.
I hope Ronnie doesn't hear that. You just said he likes to talk a lot.
There's nothing wrong with that. I like you. You like to talk a lot.
That's a good point.
Okay.
That's a compliment.
So, I like that.
All right. So song of the week. Now this one is in the Wayback Machine.
Way back. What year do you think this song came out?
1989.
Close. Wow. Within a year.
90?
1990.
1990.
Yeah.
So, that's a long time ago.
That is a long time ago. So, sorry for all you people that don't like old stuff. And
There's been so many versions of this song.
There have
and
been.
it's hard to find out like a really good version. So I don't know which one Joshua's playing right now. But there's so many different versions, and it's a very quiet, simple song. It's just a guitar. This is one of the first songs I learned to play on guitar.
Wow.
One of the first, not the first, but Eternity was like the first one.
Yeah, so you could actually, well, I mean, I guess if you don't know how it goes, you would need to hear it. But otherwise, go to, search for the chords and pick up a guitar and play it.
It should be simple. That's the one thing Vineyard did back in the day. They did a lot of simple songs, so you could just play it in small groups. That was their idea.
Yeah.
So this one was by Brian Dirksen, and funny story about him is that he married a lady with the same last name in a small town in Canada, and they're not related. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
What's the chances?
How many Dirksens are there?
Right.
I guess more than one.
Yeah, and it's pronounced Dirksen. I thought it was Dorkerson.
Dorkerson?
Yeah, but it's Dirksen. Anyway, the song is, and he's written a number of famous songs, but this one is Refiner's Fire. And I mean, if you haven't heard this song, then I don't know where you've been.
I was going to say, I mean, I figure most people have heard this, but I thought, some of the younger generation.
People of our age, maybe.
Of our age, right. Well, that's what I thought. People of the younger generation, you don't always go back and listen to some of the
That's why we're
older
doing
stuff.
it.
So I'm like, people, you got to know this song because this is just classic.
This is the
It's just
35th anniversary.
Good. Well,
45th. 35th.
Yeah, the 35th anniversary of this song came out a number of years ago. So
I don't know.
It was new to me.
1990 to now, I don't know what that is.
It's a lot of years. So
That's 35 years.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, you're right. It is 35 years. Okay. Well, anyway, this is not the math segment. This is my song.
That's right. Why don't you go ahead and talk about this song?
Anyways.
Because this song, I mean, if I could, I know it's Sarah's song of the week, but when I first got saved, I couldn't consume enough praise and worship music. And in fact, I got like the whole library of the Vineyard and Hosanna Integrity. It was a little bit more Hosanna Integrity out there, so I didn't get that, but I got all the Vineyard on discount. And if you come to my house, I could show you all the CDs.
Right.
And I listened to them all. And we were just going through some of them today. And this one was one of the classics. I mean, this one stuck out and is one that I spent a lot of times at the altar doing some carpet time, if you know what that means. But anyway, so go ahead. Why do you like this song?
Well, this song does take me back to at least my teen years. I mean, it came out in 90, so I wasn't even a teen yet at the time. But I don't know when I first heard it. I don't remember.
You were a teen.
In 1990?
I graduated in 94.
Okay, well, in 1990, I would have been 12.
Really?
Yeah. At the end of the year, I turned 12. So, yeah.
There's no way.
I was born in 78. Okay, I can't do this math.
Yeah, okay. Whatever. Okay.
Anyway, so I remember as a young person, I don't know how young, but I remember many, many, many times singing this song and, kind of using, some songs are kind of turned into like a prayer, and this one would definitely be that.
Right.
And so,
absolutely.
Because, I mean, basically that's what it is a prayer. It says, purify my heart, let me be as gold and precious silver. And then the chorus says, Refiner's Fire, my heart's one desire is to be holy, set apart for you, Lord. I choose to be holy, set apart for you, my master, ready to do your will. And I don't know, lately I've started reading the Bible again, so I've been going through, the end of Exodus when they're talking about the tabernacle and all the things, and then I just got into Leviticus. Yes, I know, it's a tough book.
Leviticus.
But I actually like Leviticus. But anyway, but when it talks about refine me and I want to be holy,
Like Leviticus.
There we go.
10 seconds late.
What is that?
Yes.
The thought of being holy right now is very, it's fresh because that's what I've been reading about is the whole, all these things had to be so holy and pure. And it's like, and that's my prayer right now. It's like, God, I also want to be holy, and I like when it says I choose to be holy because, oftentimes in all of our life, it's like we make choices and we choose to do things to be set apart, or we choose to do things that, I don't care,
right.
And so it's like, no, I want to choose to be holy. I want to be ready for whatever He has for me. And so anyway, I just think it's a great song. I think everybody should know it. And it's
simple. It's easy.
It's simple. Yeah.
It's a great message. And I know a lot of people, I am holy and, whatever. We can never be holy. I'm like, we can be set apart. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And to do His will for a
ready to
particular
do
purpose.
your will. And I think, there's not every moment of every day am I ready to do his will. Sometimes I want to do my own thing, so it's like, no, I want my heart, my thoughts and everything to be directed towards him and what he has for my life, because I feel like we can get so caught up in this world. It's so easy and miss what he has for us. And, if I'm going to the store and I happen to be around people that aren't saved, and maybe he wanted me to talk to somebody and I could totally miss that. And that could mean somebody's eternity, So it's like, I want to be ready for whatever
it's a big
he
burden
has.
there.
Well, it is. Okay. I mean, that's kind of extreme, but I'm just saying,
That's your heart, right?
I don't know what he has for me, and I want to be ready for any of that. So anyway.
Well, you could go check it out. Refiner's Fire by Brian Dirksen. It's Doerkesen, something like that. But anyway, it's Brian Dirksen and Refiner's Fire. There's so many different versions. So you might click on one and be like, man, this one's like a upbeat one.
Yeah.
There's so many different ones that people have done. But if you do the one that's in the description, if we do that, I don't know.
Yeah,
but the Sarah Song of the Week on Spotify, you can go check that out. But that's a pretty good one. And but there's so many to choose from. Just today, we were looking for one to play on the show, and I have 8 on my computer.
Yeah.
8 different ones.
There's a bunch. And I found some others that I had never heard before. And I'm like, and there were some good, some I, whatever. So if you don't like the one I picked, go look for a different one.
Yeah, go check it out.
The Mike Charleston Show is brought to you by Fellowship of Believers. For more information, go to our website at fellowshipofbelievers.org. Thank you for listening. We hope we have encouraged you to stand strong in the Lord Jesus and grow in Him.